Hey, welcome back to The Better Journey. Really glad you're here today. So, if this is your first time listening, hey, welcome. Grab a coffee, get comfortable, you're gonna like it here. And if you've been here before, you already know what we do. We talk about travel in a way that's actually useful. Not just pretty pictures and destination lists, but the real stuff. How to choose, how to plan, how to make a trip actually work for your life, your budget, your people. And today's episode, I'm genuinely excited about this one because we're talking about a place that I think gets underestimated. Not because people don't go there, they absolutely do, but because people don't always fully understand why it works so well and how to make it work for them specifically. We're talking about Mexico. And I'm going to talk about it differently than you've probably heard it talk about before. Not like a resort catalog, more like why does this place matter so much to so many Canadians? What's actually going on there? And how do you make sure you get the right version of it for you? Because there is a wrong version and it is unavoidable. And by the end of this episode, you'll know how to avoid it. Okay, let's get into it. So today we're talking about Mexico. Not in a here are the top 5 resorts kind of way, more like Mexico is a vibe. Mexico is a feeling. Mexico is something that I genuinely think Canadians need in a way that goes beyond just wanting a holiday. Because for a lot of us, Mexico isn't really a vacation, it's maintenance, like emotional, spiritual maintenance. And I know how that sounds, bear with me. When you live here through a full winter, and I mean a real one, not like, oh, it was a bit grey for a few weeks. There is this moment that I think every Canadian hits at some point, where you're not just cold, you're like soul cold. Your whole vibe has frost on it. You wake up, it's dark. You finish work, it's dark. You look outside and the rain is coming at you sideways. You check the weather app and it's like minus 15. Feels like minus 23. Also, there's freezing drizzle. Also, why are you even asking? Why? Just stay inside forever. And at some point, your body stops using words and just sending you signals. Your brain is like, I'm fine. Your body's like, are we though? And your soul is quietly in the corner going, I need a palm tree. I need one. I don't want to talk about it. I just need it to exist near me. That's when you book Mexico. And I think people underestimate why Mexico is so popular. They just go, oh, it's sunny and cheap and easy. And yeah, okay. But I think there's more to it than that. Mexico solves problems people don't even realize they have. Like the, I want a vacation, but I don't have the mental energy to plan one problem. That everyone in my family wants something different problem. The please just tell me where dinner is, let me sit down problem. And people kind of roll their eyes at the all-inclusive thing. Oh, it's just an all-inclusive. Okay, but have you ever tried to take a group of people somewhere where one person wants to relax, one person wants to do stuff, one kid is hungry? Every 45 minutes, your partner says they're flexible, and flexible is generally one of the dangerous words in travel because it always means I have strong opinions that I will not reveal until after you've made the wrong choice. That's not just a vacation, that's a whole logistical situation with sunscreen. And the all-inclusive absorbs a lot of that. You wake up, food is there. You want coffee, coffee's there. You want to do nothing for 6 hours and still feel like it was a good day? Completely valid, nobody's stopping you. Because regular life is already asking too many questions. What should I cook? What email did I miss? Why is the group chat going off right now? What is the plan? Whose turn is it? 1 week where the answer to most things is just, yeah, that's included. It's not laziness, that's a gift. That's what people are actually paying for. Now, let me actually break down the regions a bit, because this is where I think people get tripped up. They just say Mexico and book whatever pops up first, and then wonder why the trip fell off. So let's fix that. Cancun and the hotel zone. This is the classic. Big resorts, great beaches on the Caribbean side, clear water, lots of energy. It's the easiest entry point and honestly it earns that reputation. If you want a proven formula, easy logistics and you don't want to think too hard, Cancun delivers. The downside is it can feel a bit like a bubble. You're kind of in a resort corridor and it doesn't feel super Mexican, which for some people is totally fine. For others, it feels a bit hollow after a few days. Next, Riviera Maya. So this runs south of Cancun, towns like Playa del Carmen, Tulum, Akumal. This is where things get a bit more interesting. You've still got the Caribbean water, but the vibe is different. Playa del Carmen has an actual town with a walkable street called Fifth Avenue. Restaurants, shops, nightlife. So if you want to step outside the resort and feel like you're somewhere real, this area gives you that. And the big bonus here is the C notes. If you have never done a sea note, it's basically a natural freshwater sinkhole, underground caves with this unreal turquoise water. There are hundreds of them in this region. Dos Ojos, Gran Cenote, Cenote Azul. Generally, one of the coolest things you can do in Mexico, and it's very accessible from Riviera Maya. Also, Tulum is nearby if you want to see ruins, literally right on the cliff above the ocean. It's a short trip for most resorts in this area, and it's worth it. Then Puerto Vallarta. This is one of the Pacific side, and it has a completely different feel. It's an actual city with a real historic downtown. The Melecion boardwalk, incredible food scene, mountains behind it. The water is a bit rougher than the Caribbean, but the scenery is stunning. This one tends to appeal to people who want culture mixed in with their beach time. Great restaurant scene, good nightlife in the surrounding area, like the Riviera Nayarit heading north has some really beautiful quieter spots if you want to escape the city energy. Then there's Los Cabos. So this is right at the tip of Baja California, where the Pacific and the Sea of Cortez meet. Very different vibe again. More desert landscape, dramatic rocky cliffs, big luxury resort energy. This one's tend to skew more adult, more couples, and golf and upscale dining. The beaches on the Pacific side can be rough for swimming, but the Sea of Cortez side is calmer. The arch at Land's End is iconic. If you've seen pictures of that rock formation in the ocean, that's Cabo. Also, a great spot for whale watching in the winter months, which people don't always know. Then there's Oaxaca in Mexico City. Okay. These aren't beach destinations, but I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't mention them. If you want cultural Mexico, food Mexico, the stuff that actually makes Mexico one of the most interesting countries in the world, these are your cities. Mexico City is generally one of the great cities on the planet, incredible food, world-class museums, neighborhoods like Roma and Condesa that is just beautiful to walk around. Oaxaca is smaller, but has some of the best food cultures in the entire country. Mole, tlayudas, mezcal, incredible markets. If you've done the resort thing a few times and you want something that actually challenges you a bit, these cities will do that. And here's something I think is generally underrated about Mexico. It lets completely different people have completely different trips on the same holiday. It sounds small, but it's actually huge. Because we talk about group trips and family trips like everybody wants the same thing. They don't. They really don't. Someone wants to lie completely flat and not be spoken to. Someone wants to zip line. Someone wants to shop. Someone wants a photo of literally everything. Someone says they don't care and then absolutely cares at exactly the wrong moment. In a lot of places, if your group isn't aligned, the whole trip becomes the ongoing negotiation that never resolves. But in Mexico, Cancun, Riviera Maya, Vallarta, Cabos, people can kind of split off and do their thing without it all falling apart. The tired one becomes horizontal furniture next to the pool. The adventurous one goes to cenotes. The parents relax, the kids are busy, and then everyone comes back together at dinner happy, instead of quietly annoyed about the afternoon. That's the goal, right? A dinner where nobody's passive-aggressively stabbing their salad. Mexico makes that happen more than people give it credit for. Okay. I also want to say, people call Mexico basic. Oh, everyone goes there. Yeah, and some things get popular because of hype, but some things get popular because they actually work. Mexico works. And also, Mexico is not one thing. That's the part people miss, which hopefully the region breakdown made a bit clearer. So when someone says, find me a deal in Mexico, okay, but which one? Because a party resort and a small quiet property are both in Mexico and they are completely different experiences. The beach matters, the vibe matters, the size of the resort matters. It's like saying, find me a vehicle. Sure, but are you moving furniture or are you trying to look like you have your life together in a parking lot? Context matters. Now, let me talk about timing for a second because this is something people don't think about enough. The sweet spot for Canada to Mexico is honestly November through April. That's when you're escaping the worst of winter and the weather in Mexico is at its most reliable. Dry season, lower humidity, clear skies most days. December and January are peak. It's going to cost more and resorts fill up fast, especially around the holidays. If you're flexible, November is genuinely underrated. Prices drop noticeably. It is still busy enough that everything is running properly and the weather is great. March break is a whole thing. If you're going with kids during March break, book early. Like embarrassingly early. We're talking about 6 months ahead minimum if you want decent prices and room availability at the resort you actually want. February is good. Sweet spot for couples. Valentine's obviously drives some demand, but outside of the specific week, February is pretty solid value, and the weather is excellent. May through October is technically off season in a lot of these destinations and you'll find cheaper prices. But you're also getting into rainy season and hurricane season on the Caribbean side. That doesn't mean it rains all day every day, it's often more like a heavy shower in the afternoon and then it clears. But it is a real factor, especially August through October. The Pacific side, Vallarta, Cabo, has its own weather patterns, and Cabo in particular can be quite dry even in summer. So it depends on where you're going. Now, the wrong resort can wreck an otherwise fine trip, and the right one, like the actual right fit for you, can make even a pretty normal trip feel really good. I keep coming back to this. The cheapest wrong trip is still expensive. If you save $200 but spent 7 days annoyed because the food didn't work or the beach was nothing like the photos, was that actually a deal? Financially, maybe. Emotionally, no. So let me give you some actual things to look at when you're comparing resorts because it looks nice in the pictures. It's not enough. The beach. Not all beaches in Mexico are equal. The Caribbean side, Cancun, Riviera Maya, generally has calmer, clearer water and that soft white sand. But even within that, some resorts have better beach access than others. Some have seaweed issues at certain times of year. Sargassum, which is that brown seaweed, has been a real thing on the Caribbean coast in recent years. It comes and goes. It's worse in summer. Some beaches manage it better than others. Worth checking recent reviews, not just photos from the resort website, which were obviously taken on the best possible day. Room categories. This is where people get surprised. At a lot of all-inclusive, there's big difference between the base room and the upgraded categories. Sometimes the base room is fine. Sometimes the base room is inland facing, smaller than you expected, and basically exists to make the upgraded rooms feel worth it. If you're at a resort for 7 days and you're spending a lot of time in the room, it might be worth looking at what the upgrade actually gives you. Ocean view or swim-up rooms can genuinely change the experience. Food variety. If you're going with people who have dietary preferences, vegetarian, halal, picky kids, whatever, check what the resort actually offers beyond the buffet. Most big resorts have multiple restaurants, but they're not all open every night, and some require reservations. This matters more if you're there for a week than if you're doing a quick long weekend. Size of the resort. Big resorts can feel like a small city, which some people love. More options, more pools, more to do. But if you want a quieter, more intimate experience, a massive resort can feel overwhelming and impersonal. There are smaller boutique-style all-inclusives that have a completely different feel. Worth knowing which you actually want before you book. Transfer time. This one is underrated. Cancun Airport to Cancun Hotel Zone is like 20 minutes. Cancun Airport to Tulum is like an hour and a half. That's just a fact of the geography. After a long travel delay, especially with kids, a 90-minute transfer feels like a lot longer than it looks on paper. Not a deal breaker, but factor it in. Reviews and how to read them. Okay, this is important. Don't just look at the star rating and read the actual recent reviews, like the last 3 to 6 months. Because resorts change, management changes, they renovate, they go through good patches and rough patches. A resort that was great 2 years ago might have slipped. A resort that had mediocre reviews for a while might have genuinely improved. And read the negative reviews with some judgment. Some people give 1 star because it rained. That's not useful information. But if you see multiple people in the last few months all mentioning the same specific thing, food quality dropped, beach has a lot of seaweed right now, construction noise, slow service at the restaurants, that's a pattern. That's worth paying attention to. 1 complaint is a mood. 10 similar complaints is data. Let me also say something about the practical side of going to Mexico. Because I think some people have anxiety about this that either stops them from going or makes them underprepared. Mexico is safe for tourists. But like any destination, you have to be smart about it. You have to understand that it's not one uniform experience. The resort areas, Cancun, Riviera Maya, Los Cabos, Puerto Vallarta, are well-established tourist destinations with a huge amount of infrastructure around keeping visitors safe and happy. Because that literally is the economy there. Tens of millions of people visit every year without incident. That said, check the Canadian government travel advisories before you go. Not to scare yourself, but just to be informed, the advisories are pretty specific about which regions and situations to be aware of, and they are updated regularly. The advice for Cancun's hotel zone is very different from advice about driving through certain states. Know the difference. A few practical things that are actually useful. Don't drink tap water. This is real. Stick to bottled water, including for brushing your teeth if you want to be safe. Resorts will have bottled water available. If you're leaving the resort to explore, which I'd actually encourage you to do at some point, use reputable transportation. Your resort can usually arrange excursions or recommend trusted options. Random unmarked taxis or getting into a car with someone you don't know is just not smart anywhere in the world, not just Mexico. The cenotes, the ruins, the local markets, the town centers near resort areas, all of this is very doable and really worth doing. You don't have to stay inside the resort bubble the whole time, but use your common sense the same way you would do anywhere new. Travel insurance. Please get it. Medical care in Mexico's tourist area is actually pretty good, but it's not free and it's not your Canadian health card. A basic travel insurance policy is not expensive and it's not worth skipping. And buy Mexican pesos when you get there, not before you leave Canada. The exchange rate you get at the airport in Mexico or at a local ATM is almost always better than what you'll get exchanging here. And within the resort, most things are covered anyway, so you mainly need cash for tips and anything you buy outside. Speaking of tips, this is one thing that generally makes a difference and people either don't know or forget it. Tipping at an all-inclusive is not technically required since service is supposedly included. But the staff at these resorts work really hard and a lot of them are supporting families on wages that are generally modest. $1 or $2 to the person who brings you drinks, a few dollars for housekeeping at the end of your stay, it adds up to almost nothing for you, and it means a lot to them. It also tends to make your experience better, not because people are transactional about it, but because it creates a human connection that makes the stay feel warmer. Bring small USD bills for this, $1 and $5 bills. You will use them constantly and you will be glad you have them. So, here is the question I think is actually worth asking before you book anything. Not what's the cheapest option, but what kind of tired am I? Because that changes everything. Socially tired, you probably want something quieter. Smaller, adults only maybe, not a massive resort where there's always something happening and someone trying to get you to join a pool game at 11 a.m. Family tired? You need easy. Good food options, kids stuff, pools that work, short transfers from the airport, convenience over wow factor. Relationship tired? Not like in a bad way, just like life has been a lot and you and your person haven't really been present with each other in a while. You need atmosphere. Somewhere that feels nice to be in. Good dinners, a little romance, a place where you can remember you actually like each other outside of just managing a shared household. Boredom tired? You need things to do. Cenotes, ruins, snorkeling, markets, movement. And winter tired? Which I think it might be its own medical condition, honestly. You just need warmth and light and ocean and the very specific Canadian experience of stepping outside without a jacket and going, alright, this exists, wow. And here's the thing about Canadians specifically. We are not dramatic people. We don't really say what we need. We say, hey, it's been a bit chilly. When we haven't seen the sun since November, we say, work's been busy. When we've fully become a human to-do list, we say, I could use a break. When what we mean is, I am one more grey Tuesday away from losing it. And Mexico is just close enough to feel doable and far enough to feel like actual escape. You land, the air hits different, your shoulders come down from wherever they've been living near your ears for the past 4 months. And for a second, you just think, yeah, life can feel like this too. That's the thing people are actually buying, not the resort, not even the beach. That moment. The reminder that you're not just your inbox, you're a person who can sit somewhere warm and let time slow down a little. So if you're thinking about Mexico, don't start with, what's the best deal? Start with, what do I actually need from this trip? Rest, fun, easy family week, romance, full reset. Figure that out first, and then finding the right place becomes so much simpler. Because the right trip for you might not be the fanciest one or the most exotic one. It might just be the one where everything works and nobody's stressed and you come home actually feeling like something shifted. Vitamin D for the soul. Not a medical claim. Please don't tell your doctor I said that. But you know what I mean. Alright, that's it for the episode. If you've got questions about a specific region, a specific resort, timing, anything, reach out. That's what we're here for. And wherever you end up going, I hope it's the right trip. Not just a trip. Talk soon.